This is the most active gland in our digestive system. It's going to produce.
Sorry, interrupting.
No, come on in. We're just having a health talk.
Oh.
This gland is the most active one in the digestive system. It produces substances in the form of digestive juices of several different kinds, and each process various elements contained in the foods that we eat. Okay? When I see a lot of adult onset type 2 diabetes, that tells me that their system has been struggling for digestion to where the pancreas was having to take up 90% of the workload for too long. Okay? Children that end up with type 1, that's a totally different scenario. Okay? But type 2 diabetes is almost always brought on by diet and lifestyle. Okay? Those are people that loved their pop, loved all the refined sugars, they overate a lot of the breads, pastas, those kind of things. Okay? Sugar overload. And that usually starts out with people that are hypoglycemic. If you know that you're struggling with low blood sugar where you get shaky and moody, that's usually an indication, a precursor that type 2 diabetes is going to probably step on the scene as you continue to age. Okay. So when you eat starches, sugars, if you have a very high meat intake, the pancreas has to do more than its fair share of work. Starches cannot be digested but have to be converted, okay, into chemical sugars. The pancreas must not only furnish the digestive juices for those sugars, but it has to do the necessary work of the conversion as well. When you eat too much meat, you can't either use the concentrated protein or the amino acids that's composed within it. The pancreas has to do that conversion work. And most of us improperly combine our meals and make that work on the pancreas twice as hard. If you're going to eat meat with vegetables. Leave the potato, leave the bread, leave the starches out of the equation, because it takes different digestive juices to break those down. Meat takes a very acidic element to be broken down, and starches take an alkaline. Well, it's basic science. When you combine an acid and an alkaline together, you get an eruption. That's what we used to erupt our volcanoes in science class. So, hello, GERD, heartburn, acid reflux. Keep your meals simple. If you're going to have breads and pastas, leave the meat out. Vegetables are always going to be your neutral key zone. So meat with veggies, or your pasta, baked potato with a side salad and some steamed vegetables. Don't put them together. So typically most of our sandwiches are, you're not going to digest it. It's got bread and a burger, or bread and lunch meat, or there's always some kind of meat that goes with the bread, and you're not going to break it down.
Do digestive enzymes help the effort?
Digestive enzymes will help, definitely, okay? But you still need to make some conscious effort to make that not the normal way that you're going to eat, because that's kind of like putting a Band-Aid on the cut, but you're going to keep bumping the cut.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, digestive enzymes I encourage, especially if you already know you have some of those issues going on. You bloat after you eat, you get the heartburn, the acid reflux. You need to be taking some digestive enzymes with hydrochloric acid. The prescriptions always want to reduce the stomach acid. Stomach acid doesn't digest your food. It activates the enzymes, which are protein-based, for you to break the food down. So when you diminish that, you disable the enzymes from doing what they need to do. And most people end up with, then the cholesterol starts to go up because you've got undigested fats and that kind of stuff starting to store and hang around. So it all kind of starts from there. The adrenal glands. Those are little hats that sit on top of both of our kidneys, kind of like protection. The adrenal glands have two parts. You've got the outer part that's called the cortex and the inner part that's called the medulla. The outer part produces the hormones like the corticosteroids, which regulate our metabolism. They balance our salt and water in the body. They strengthen the immune system, and they control our sexual function. The inner part, or the medulla, produces the catecholamines, like the adrenaline. They also release epinephrine and norepinephrine in response to stress. That influences our cardiovascular function, our blood glucose levels. The hypothalamus controls the secretion of the epinephrine, or the norepinephrine, through the nerve pathways. This is complicated. Our endocrine system is very, very complicated, and yet this is what I base the main crux of supporting in my practice when I work with clients. Is I work with everybody's endocrine system, because everybody's system is off somewhere. If you're living on this planet today, saturated with chemicals, I have not met one single client that didn't have an issue somewhere in their endocrine
Do
system.
you test them? Is there a test?
I have something called a quantitative fluid analysis that I run, and it's not for medical diagnosing, but it sends up markers to see where some of the stress is coming from in the endocrine system. I can pinpoint if it's thyroid, is it adrenals, where's it going on? And then I use a nutritional basis to start to work with that, okay? When the adrenal glands are healthy and they're working right, they inject the blood with just enough adrenaline to be constructive. We've heard about our cortisol levels, okay? Well, when you've got a lot of adrenal stress for a very long period of time, and if you do, you'll know you're one of those people, because you get agitated quickly, can't function without coffee, okay? One of those people that are like, well, talk to me till I've had my coffee in the morning, or you need it to function in the middle of the day, the energy drinks and stuff like that, because you hit that midday crash and burn, okay? If you have a lot of belly fat, that no matter how much you exercise, what you're doing, it doesn't want to go anywhere. When you have overproduction of that cortisol, it stores in the fat cells, and it makes your fat cells more insulin resistant, so in turn it makes your pancreas work twice as hard. Okay, that's usually a telltale sign if you got adrenal fatigue. You can't sleep at night. You find yourself sleepy in the middle of the day, but when it's time to go to bed at night, boom, you're laying there wide awake, trying to watch TV, read a book, you can't go to sleep. It's usually adrenal issues. Adrenaline also dilates the pupils of the eyes and controls the pigment on your skin. They also control that fight or flight, where you walk up on a spider and before your brain even recognizes that you've seen it, you've screamed, you've jumped back, and you did 20 minutes of cardio in about 3 seconds. At least that's me when I see a big one. So that fight or flight. When that response kicks in, like when we're in danger, let's say your house is on fire and you're trying to get in there and get your kids out, your adrenaline is pumping, okay? You're working essentially on automatic pilot, and it shuts down anything else in the body that is not imperative for that moment. That's why the hunger, you're not hungry, you don't have to pee. I mean, it shuts everything down except breathing and heart rhythm, okay? So when your throttle stays stuck, it causes extra inflammation. That's where we see a lot of the people that have unexplained joint and muscle pain. They have, I contribute that to a lot of people struggling with restless leg syndrome, coupled with some magnesium depletion. But it causes a lot of neurological issues, right, when that overproduction stays stuck like that for too long. You can also tell if your adrenaline and your cortisol levels are staying high, because it keeps your pupils dilated. Okay? When you're in that fight or flight mode, your pupils will dilate. And if you're staying in that stressed out mode, they don't respond as quickly to light stimulus. So I usually will use a pen light when I'm working with clients, and I test their eyes to see how well their pupils are responding. Most of your doctors are doing that when you go in for an exam and that kind of stuff too. So they just don't tell you what you're looking for. That's what you're looking for. One of them anyway. Then we look at the gonads, our sex glands. Now, of course, men and women have uniquely different reproductive glands. We know where they're located. But androgen and testosterone are the two hormones that are prominent for men. And that's why men get bigger muscles than women do, because of the testosterone and so forth. Women are never going to get as big as a man unless they're artificially adding some of that. The women's reproductive system is a little more complicated. It's got the uterus and the ovaries. Our body actually produces 3 different forms of estrogen in our lifetime. The estrogen that we're born with as babies is different than when we start hitting that adolescence. So you've got what we label E1, E2, and E3. E2 is what we go through in our teens when the breasts start to grow and our hips start to change, we start to get shapely. And then as we start to transition into menopause, we produce the E3, which your body will always produce estrogen. It's just a different type of hormone. It's no longer meant to be the more prominent of the hormones. Progesterone is the balancing act. Now, for women that have had total hysterectomies, you've got an issue. That's why they do hormone replacement therapy, because the ovaries produce your progesterone. So when you've had a hysterectomy, they take that away. So the adrenals can kick in and help with some. They will actually transfer and start to pick up the slack for a woman. But you have to supplement with that, and that's where the progesterone cream or the progesterone oil is in. Depending on if you're feeling like you're going through a menopause from hell with the hot flashes, the mood swings, you're holding water, all of the negative aspects of menopause, I actually recommend doing a progesterone oil because it takes less to get the job done and you can control it by drop versus trying to control the size of a dime of the cream and so forth. If you're just having some PMS and you're noticing some menopausal symptoms, you can probably get by with the progesterone cream, which is made from wild yams. But if you've got more severe symptoms, even women that have the PMS where they've got all the big bleeding breakthroughs and the clotting issues and stuff like that, I recommend the progesterone oil because we can control the dose better and get you where you need to be faster than trying to guess with the cream. So, I'm going to tell you where some of these imposters are hiding in your houses. Starting with the pantry. You look on your food shelves, most processed foods contain some kind of undesirable. Okay? It's either going to be in the packaging itself or the ingredients. Your canned foods are usually lined with that light white plastic coating, and that's got the BPA lining in there. So you want to start looking for BPA-free on the label of your canned goods. You're going to see that more on organic foods and commercial foods. I know that Aldi's is starting to transfer all of their line to everything being BPA-free. Okay?
They're going to go to organic.
Yeah, they're going to blow Whole Foods right out of the water because their price point's going to be more affordable for most folks with the organic foods. But the other thing is like with your cereals and stuff, if you buy cereal for kids or grandkids, if you look on the box, you'll see that it's got BHT and, okay, I'm sensitive to it because we don't buy it anymore. And so when I open a bag of it, like if I'm at somebody's house, I can smell the chemical. It's in there to keep bugs out of the packaging, but it leaches into the food that's in the container. The problem is they say that they put it in there to deter pests. The problem is that the ants don't want the food. The little grain mills don't want those foods. If the bugs won't touch the food, you probably shouldn't eat it either. I mean, years ago when I had a food co-op and I used to buy my grains in bulk when my kids were little, I had a 25-pound bag of oatmeal. It must have came already with the grain mills in there. I still had oatmeal, so I hadn't even opened it. And in my pantry, I noticed I had all these little things flying around. And they make little, if you've ever had them, you know them. They make the little webs and you see the little, looks like little worms, it's gross. But yet, all of the pasta, I used to always buy in bulk, so I would transfer it into other containers and so forth. All of the store-bought pasta, everything else that I got from the co-op was covered with it. It had gotten into everything. There were certain things I bought from the commercial grocery store that they wouldn't even touch. They were perfectly fine. And I thought, the bugs must know something. So for years I quit buying store-made pasta and went back to making my own because it was made with fresh ingredients. So that's a big thing. But you want to cut back on processed and packaged foods in general. You want to get what you can that's in regular paper containers or glass jars. Stay away from a lot. Don't ever buy your cooking oil in a plastic bottle, folks. Glass only. Because the oil in particular will leach the petroleum chemicals from the oil bottle that's stored in. Everything's, yeah, there's more and more, a lot of your oils are now going back to glass jars. You'll see them in the green amber, you know, the amber jars, the green jars, glass only.
You know, I heard one of the worst things you can eat is microwave popcorn.
Well, it's got a lot of carcinogens and the stuff with the type of oil that they put in the bag to make it pop and give it that buttery taste. Just use an air popper.
Yeah, I was shocked.
Or the old fashioned way, remember putting the butter in the bottom and then just kind of shaking it over the burner in a Dutch oven. But air poppers are real quick. You just pour it, pour them in there, turn it on, and it shoots it out. The refrigerator, let's move on to the refrigerator. Milk, if your milk and burgers aren't organic, I guarantee you that those meats in the milk are gonna have synthetic estrogens that makes the cattle get fatter faster. And it increases their milk production. They overstimulate the cows to produce more milk. And you end up with a whole lot of pus and disgusting stuff in the milk because they get ulcers on the udders. They're using machines to milk the cows. And so those sores get infected, and it's really a disgusting process. If you ever visit a dairy farm, and I'm not talking about Great Oaks because, or Fair Oaks, yeah, thank you. You know, they've got, you know, where people can see and stuff like that. I'm talking about just regular commercial farming. It'd blow your mind.
Plus they stay pregnant for like 4 years, right? To produce the milk.
Well,
They induce.
they keep giving them once they've had a calf,
Yeah.
they just keep injecting them with the hormones to keep their milk production up. They don't keep having to have babies after that. They can keep a mother cow milking for up to 3 years off of one birth. And that's by artificially stimulating the milk production. They beef up the prolactin production so it keeps producing milk.
So now they say that it's hormone free. I mean, even Aldi has hormone free.
Yeah. That means that
Is it really?
the cows are not being injected with that hormone. So, but the milk is still being pasteurized. It's raw, of course, is better, but
Can you even buy raw milk?
you gotta jump through a whole big circus amount of hoops to get it. You gotta say that you're buying a share in the cow, and you gotta sign a paper for that, and it's like $9 a gallon, and I'm like, you know what, we're the only mammal that drinks milk past the whelping stage. I could do without it. You don't need it. You really don't need it. We are the only mammal that drinks milk past the weaning stage. Pesticides that are, of course, on the food that the animals are fed. Xenoestrogens are super concentrated in the animal's fat. So if you're eating a lot of pork or meat that's very fatty, all the toxins are gonna be in the animal fat. We're all doing a lot of, we've been told it's healthier to buy boneless, skinless chicken. I disagree. You need to buy your chickens with the skin still on for a couple of reasons. You tell a lot by the health of the bird from the color of the fat that's under the skin. If it's that nasty yellow color, the bird was sick, and it was force fed. If it's pink and almost translucent, it was a healthy free-range bird. The bone marrow that's in the bones gives certain health elements when you're cooking the meat. So you need the skin on, because you need the healthy fats, guys. We keep being told that fat is bad. It's not. Every cell and neuron in your body is fat protected. So a lot of these people on cholesterol medicines, that medicine can't go in there and differentiate between the good, bad, and the ugly. It's gonna interfere with all. And then you see that most of those people taking cholesterol medicine for any extended length of time end up on some kind of antidepressant or anti-anxiety medication because they feel like they're losing it. Every cell in your brain that coupled with a neuron has a fat cell protector. And when you start taking those medicines, it depletes all of that. So it can't, it's kind of like when you plug in your outlet, you've got a grounding wire. That's what keeps you from getting electrocuted. Well, you need those healthy fats to conduct all the electrical current on the surface of your heart, what happens in the brain conduction, it all goes hand in hand. So you need the good fats. I have all my clients eating tons, and I mean tons, of butter, real butter. I have them on a lot of oils, and their cholesterol goes down, their triglycerides improve, their weight starts to come off, they're sleeping better, they're thinking better, their memory comes back. You need fat, it just has to be the right kind, okay?
And butter's good?
Real butter, not margarine.
No,
Margarine's
no.
one molecule shy of liquid plastic, so, yeah,
No, but
real butter.
real butter.
What are other things we need?
You need your essential fatty acids, so your coconut oils, olive oil, you should never cook with it, only cold or in a dipping sauce, because it converts, it can't take a high heat. Grapeseed oil is good to cook with. Avocado oil is excellent to cook with if you're gonna saute, if you're gonna fry. It doesn't convert, and it leaves a beautiful flavor in your
Make sure
food.
that don't fall off the tin, not the side of the table.
Peanut oil's high temperature too.
What's that?
Peanut oil.
Peanut oil, yes, but it is not as healthy for the elasticity going on in the arterial walls, so limited on the peanut oil.
Now sauteing with olive oil, what's the problem with
It converts to a trans fatty acid because the molecules are too sensitive to the heat. It should be used
So it
only,
becomes a trans fat?
you should only use it cold or for like your salad dressings or a dipping sauce after you've cooked something.
How about coconut oil?
Well, coconut oil takes a high heat, so you can fry with it, you can saute with it. I mean, coconut oil is like a multi-purpose, use it for hair conditioner, put it on your skin. I mean, it's great for sunburns. There isn't anything you can't do with coconut oil.
Butter is okay?
It's very healthy. I highly encourage it.
Okay, yeah, I like butter.
Is that what the literature is saying out there?
For the butter,
Yeah.
well,
Because I just read olive oil, and I've been cooking with the olive oil.
A lot of
I know
people have-
butter's good, but
a lot of people have been cooking with the olive oil, and those that are struggling with their cholesterols, the more that they cook with the olive oil, they find that when they get their blood work, they're still struggling, okay? Usually what I tell my clients is, and because for the last 30 years, I eat, sleep, and breathe nothing but food and nutrition, I don't follow a lot of what the standard medical dietary association follows, because the food pyramid is upside down as far as health. Okay, they have your foundation being on all the grains and the starches, and we've got a lot of overweight, obese people struggling with blood sugar.
Now they have the food plate, because I'm a dietitian, and I'm into the nutrition, but yeah, they have the food plate. They
Yeah.
got rid of the pyramid.
That's a good thing, because it wasn't helping.
No, it's making people fat, I mean.
Well, it's making them sick and unhealthy, and, but basically, what I tell my clients is, give me 2 weeks eating my way, and then you be the judge after that 2 weeks, how you feel before and after. You need the butter. If you take some of your other oils and put them on your hands and run them under hot water, okay? If you heat up some olive oil, saute some in a pan,
right.
let it cool off, put it in your hand, turn on the hot water under your sink, see if it just washes off your hand. Okay, you're gonna need some soap to get it off. Do the same thing with butter. Just take some softened butter, rub it on your hand, turn the hot water off, it will melt off your hand.
I mean, I'm all for it,
Butter
I like
is,
butter, but
you need
I
the
just-
healthy fat, you really
Okay.
need the healthy
I
fat.
have a question. My granddaughter is dairy free, so she can't have butter. So what would be the substitute then?
The butter, if she's got a dairy allergy, the butter's not gonna bother her.
Yeah, well, no, she can't have any dairy.
Okay, that's mainly drinking the dairy for the lactose issues.
No, it's actually a dairy allergy.
Okay. You can substitute with the coconut oil as a butter substitute. You can, most people that have a dairy allergy though, you can also use the ghee, which is a broken down version of butter, but it still leaves the healthy oils in place. So that's a substitute that most people that have got some serious dairy issues going on, they can manage with that one. But walking back through your refrigerator, I recommend that you guys pull up online the Dirty Dozen. You can Google it, and that's gonna tell you for your fruits and vegetables what has the highest chemical load as far as pesticides and stuff like that. So in other words, not all produce needs to be organic, okay? Like avocados, they don't spray those with a lot of chemicals. The worst case scenario is the soil's depleted, okay? the crops that are sprayed the most are the ones that they have to worry about insect damage and stuff like that, so your apples and things like that. So there's certain things you don't wanna compromise with being organic, and other things you get some leeway on, okay? If you're a coffee drinker, you really need to be willing to invest in paying a little bit more for the organic coffee, though, I will throw that out there. Because, or doing the fair trade coffee, where things are regulated a little bit better on how the crops are treated, because your non-organic coffee and non-fair trade coffee, there's really, blow your mind if you've seen what's allowed for them to fertilize some of those coffee bean fields with. Coming from Colombia is where a lot of the coffee's imported from, and I mean, they will empty outhouses and use human excrement to fertilize the fields and grow the coffee beans there. It's really gross.
What about grinding your own coffee instead of buying pre-ground coffee?
Yeah, if you get if you've got a coffee grinder, they make electric ones now to make it kind of quick. You know, you can get a little bit healthier coffee that way, because any kind of a seed like that in a bean, once you crack it open, it gets rancid faster, the oils get a little more acidic in there, so grinding fresh is of course healthier, and the flavor and the aroma of the coffee is a lot more robust. So, cooking with plastics. Don't heat your food in a plastic container. It's going to cause the xenoestrogens and the chemicals to leach out of the container into the food. Styrofoam containers contain BPA. Even drinking coffee out of those styrofoam cups, bad news. Never microwave your food in anything other than a glass container or on a paper towel. Don't microwave in the plastic. Have you ever seen how your plastic gets pitted if you've microwaved in there? Okay? It's melting that into your food. Don't even put saran wrap on your food in the microwave. Just cover it with a paper towel, right?
What if you buy the dinners like Healthy Choice or Lean Cuisine?
Those are in plastic. That's what I'm
They're
saying.
healthy.
The food, yeah, that's what I'm saying. But that doesn't mean the packaging is doing you an ounce of good, so you're kind of neutralizing one for the other.
Is it okay really to use a microwave though?
You know, we have one, but we very seldom use it for a whole bunch. I mean, microwave chicken, it comes out rubbery, it's nasty. I'd rather just warm the oven up and take a few extra minutes and reheat leftovers in the oven. I recommend getting a toaster oven. You can go to a resale shop or the flea market and pick one up for $3, $4, $5, and it heats your food up almost as fast as a microwave, because it's small, so it heats up quicker, healthier. Microwave kind of takes Humpty Dumpty apart and doesn't put them back together again. That's why your food gets hot in the center and works its way out. Okay, so it changes the molecular structure of the food.
Yeah, I thought it did like really bad stuff to the food. That's
Well,
what
it does, and depending on the age of your microwave and the seal and stuff that's around there, you're emitting some of that radioactive activation that it uses to actually microwave. Those microwaves are releasing, and depending on how close you're standing to the microwave, you're absorbing some of that too. So,
Yeah, we tried one. I know they outlaw it in the UK, but here,
well, this is a good old US of A. We don't have to do any of that. I'm not a big fan of Tupperware. Used to be when I was younger. I hit every Tupperware party that everybody had because the stuff is cute. But the only time I use Tupperware is like if I'm setting out a relish tray and I got that big round thing with all the slots that you put all your veggies in, and a container or dip in the middle or something. But your Tupperware, you should replace it with glass or stainless steel food storage containers. We use mason jars a lot. We get our redneck on people. My cabinet's full of mason jars. I put leftovers in there. We store stuff in them. I mean, we do a lot with mason jars. You can get them cheap everywhere. A lot of garage sales give them away if you just take them. But you also want to stay away from plastic wrap. It's got the polyvinyl chloride. And that is a huge endocrine disruptor, especially if you put it on anything hot. The PVC is going to leach out, so you never want plastic touching your food. The other is PVC piping. If your pipes in your house are the plastic PVC, you're getting some of that polyvinyl chloride coming in your water.
Nobody really died from lead pipes when we were growing up, did they?
We don't know,
Did they really, from iron pipe?
I don't understand why some of the
Did they ever
piping
come
can't
out
be
with-
stainless.
Whoever came up
Yeah.
with the theory that iron pipe
that's
in your
a
house
great
is
idea.
bad.
I don't see why
was.
stainless
What
wouldn't
about
work. You,
copper, like copper?
It rusted
well,
and it
copper,
clogged
you're,
up.
any metal, you're gonna get some form of leaching, but not so much with cold water, it's more gonna be with your hot water aspect. But,
They
kitchen
went to
sink.
PVC 'cause it was easier to fix.
Now, when we talk about bottled water, it's not always a good solution, cause what are you getting it in? Plastic. Even the great big 5-gallon jugs, those are polycarbonate jugs, and when polycarbonate hit the market, they were like, oh my god, the plastic is, the plastic structure is so small, it's just like glass, it's just like glass. So for years, everybody was, get your polycarbonate water drinking containers. Now you still got polycarbonate, but now they're saying that they're BP free, they have no phthalates. I mean, no, just drink out of glass or stainless, it's so much simpler. I mean, it is really just so much simpler. I have a stainless steel drinking thing over there, and that's what I take to the gym. It's my sidekick all day. You can tell it's all beat up. Or do glass. They even make the lids and the straws now to go on mason jars, and the little rubber. They make them. They got the little rubber insulator on the outside, so you keep a grip on it. Most bottled water is sold in the number 1, which is the PET or the polyethylene terephthalate plastic. And then you've got the HDPE or the LDPE plastics. You'll see all those letters stamped on the bottoms, okay? Saying that they're safer for drinking water. If you're refilling your hard plastic water bottles at the grocery store, they're gonna be made with polycarbonate number 7, which has BPA in there, okay? Sadly, one of the most effective ways, though, to absorb xenoestrogens is gonna be through your skin. It's the largest breathing organ the body has, and it covers more ground than any other organ we own. Lotions, creams, makeups, foundation, nail polish remover, deodorants, other personal care products are gonna be loaded with these estrogens, or xenoestrogens, in the form of parabens, phthalates, and other chemicals. There's a list of them, so I'm not gonna read those to you, because half of them you can't even pronounce. You wanna use personal nail care products and nail polishes that are clearly marked paraben-free. They cost more, but they're there. They don't have as long of a shelf life. Some of the more natural nail polishes and stuff that are on the market now will actually start to mold if the bottle gets too old. At least you know it's safe. If penicillin can grow in it, at least you know. If you're using Noxinol number 9, which is a spermicide for your birth control method, it is a very high xenoestrogen. A lot of women, when they use those spermicides, causes a very high-end yeast infection because it binds with the yeast proteins and causes it, works like fertilizer or food, causes the yeast to grow out of it. Okay. I recommend using condoms that are non-latex with no lubricant, no spermicide on there, and if you need to lube those up, coconut oil will not break down the latex free, or you can use the sweet almond oil. Bathroom sink, your toothbrush, your bathroom cup, probably made of plastic. As long as you're not chewing on the toothbrush handle, you're obviously okay. But put a glass cup in there, or a stainless steel one. For toothpaste, we already talked about the toothpastes. The shower. Your shower curtain is probably lined with flexible vinyl that contains phthalates, that also contain mercury and dioxins, as well as lead if there's color in the shower curtain. Lead sets color. And when you add hot water to the equation, it comes off in the form of a vapor, just like mercury.
Is it okay to have a clear one?
Well, if it's plastic, you're better off having some of those nylon cloth shower curtains like you see in a lot of the hotels that they take down and they can wash. You don't really need that plastic liner. I mean, if you got your shower head directed right, you shouldn't flood your bathroom floor, but you should be using one of the nylon shower curtains. The fibers are tight enough together that water's not going to pour out. Okay, or use the cloth sliding doors if you have them. go through your hair care products. I was really thrilled when I saw this. They have a natural hairspray. And this is nice and clean. I haven't used this one. Have any of you gals used it to see how well it works? Does it
Yeah.
hold good? Because that was the one thing I never gave up was my hairspray. Because my hair is super straight and I don't like it in my face. It's already breaking down. So, you know, that's a big one for a lot of ladies, okay? Same with your hair color. There's a lot of natural hair colors. Do you guys carry hair color? Yeah, the hennas.
Our
and
Maryville,
stuff,
our
too.
Maryville store
Make
carries the
sure.
full line,
Full
so
line?
we usually get it from them. We don't have a whole lot of,
Okay, well,
People
there's a
ask them
few
for
really
it,
good
yeah.
ones on the market. Aubrey, I believe, came out with some hair coloring line, which is a clean line too, but, you know, henna and stuff like that. If you do go get your hair colored, I don't recommend getting full hair color. Do the highlights, have them put coconut oil on your scalp before they put the sheet, so none of the chemical touches your scalp. Have them do just the highlights, that's how I do mine, and, you know, do it that way. But if you do your own hair at home, try and get, you know, go to a health food store. Baum's has got 3 locations. They said their Maryville store's got a bigger line of the natural hair color. Check it out. You have to do it a little closer together than some of the stuff you're getting done at the salon. But think about where the chemical's going, guys. It's right here by the brain center. And it's gonna absorb into your skin, through your scalp. How many of you have ever done it, had all that burning and tingling sensation? That's going straight in your bloodstream, right to the brain. Okay? Children, let's talk about the baby's room. They're more sensitive to xenoestrogens and endocrine disruptors, sadly, because their bodies are smaller, so are their livers. Any room belonging to kids, you've got your baby bottles made from rigid number 7 plastic. That's got your bisphenol A. Flexible bag liners are made from number 4 LDPE plastic. Then you got the plastic toys that are going to contain the phthalates. Then there's the flame retardants used in their bed clothing and their clothes. If you don't know what type of plastic it is, don't give it to a kid, especially if they're going to put it in their mouth. You're seeing a lot more of the natural toys hitting the market, back with some of the wooden toys are coming back up that aren't painted and all of that stuff. Cloth toys. Start going with some of those and ditch a lot of the plastics. Laundry room. We talked about dryer sheets, we talked about laundry detergent. You want to get rid of all of those. They've got some nice alternatives up here that are cleaner products to use for washing your clothes, all right? Fabric softener, I wouldn't use it. If you're worried about static in the winter time, you can spray a little bit of vinegar. I take some cotton or some sponges, cut them up in strips, keep a little mason jar with some vinegar in there, dip the sponge in there, squeeze it out, throw it in the dryer. It'll keep static off your clothes, okay? If you wanna throw some essential oils on there, if smell's a big thing to you, you know, in the summertime, hang them outside, they're so stiff they couldn't get staticky if they wanted to. So, I mean, there's other options, but those dryer balls work really well too, those wool dryer balls. You can put those in there and scent them up. Backyard, lawn care products, pesticides, weed killers, big time xenoestrogen producers. Atrazine, commonly used as a weed killer, affects animals at doses of 1 part per billion. There's natural versions of weed killer that you can use outside. Vinegar's one of them, straight white vinegar. The other is start to learn to identify plants, because a lot of what we kill aren't weeds at all, they're actually medicinal. Dandelions are one of them. Every single part of a dandelion plant is medicinal. I believe that's why they reproduce so quickly. It's God's way of saying, you made this, stop killing it.
And they're good.
You know, you've got purslane, that's edible. They sell that at a lot of your Mexican stores and stuff. It's in their produce section. Excellent in the salad. A lot of the things that we kill, that we've been taught are weeds, have huge medicinal factor. Okay? You find all kinds of weeds in my grass, you can visit. She's my, she's our greenhouse lady. She can grow anything. Fight back with nutrition. You know, there's a lot of things, and that's something that I can go over if any of you would ever be interested in having a one-on-one. I'm working with them at Baum's about seeing some, you know, being able to see clients, to do some consultations and so forth here. everybody's different, so for me to start throwing some of that stuff out there as a blanket approach, you know, I'm not a big fan of multivitamins for that reason. Because you're not gonna be depleted in everything that's in that multivitamin, so why do you wanna give your body more of what it doesn't need? I'd rather customize it and do specifics with what your body does need, what it's lacking, than do a blanket approach of, it like, you know, the spaghetti sauce, it's in there. It doesn't work that way, because you overload and you cause imbalances from those overloads. So when it comes to the nutrition and stuff, it's not a one size fits all, everybody's gonna need something different, okay? But you already know if you're struggling with hormonal issues. And like I said, most people pay more attention when it's issues that affect like their female cycles, or, you know, for men with their prostate issues and testosterone levels. But it goes way beyond that. You've got your thyroid, you've got your digestion, which your pancreas has to support. Liver plays a big part because it has to metabolize that. So if you're struggling with fatty liver disease, or if you've already lost your gallbladder from gallstones, your hormones cannot help but be affected, guys, because it's a symphony, it all has to play. It's in the same game. So you can't just cut and paste and support one without the other. You don't support the thyroid without the adrenals, they're partners in crime. That's why the bulk of what I do in my practice is filters all the way around the endocrine system, because when I start there, everything else trickles back into place. The endocrine system covers it all. So if it's off, it's like a domino theory. The symphony's not gonna play well. So, does anybody have any questions? You're hungry.
I'd just like to ask a quick question. As far as like heart arrhythmias, would that like come through on any of the glands?
There's a
or-
lot of things that can help. Your thyroid helps to control your heart
Okay.
rhythm, okay? And then, of course, your minerals play a big part in heart rhythm,
Right.
potassium, magnesium, those kind of things. So, you know, it's a matter of getting things into perspective on what they've got going on. Is it AFib? Is it arrhythmia? You know, what have they got going on? Is it you know, if they had a lot of heart attacks, that means the electrical system around the heart, the surface of the heart is 100% electrical. So if they've got some things malfunctioning, why? What's causing it? There's always something causing it, and we gotta dig to the root thing, you know, nutritionally. Everything that goes wrong with our health has its roots or its base in what it's lacking nutritionally. If you don't put the right gasoline in your car, it's not gonna run. You can't put diesel in an unleaded motor. You have to put the right weight oil in there. Everything is fine-tuned. Your body's a fine-tuned machine, and it only functions because you feed it. So if you're not feeding it what it needs, it can function on tilt for a long time, and then it starts to break down. Your dashboard lights flashing are your symptoms. So that's when you got chronic headaches, when you've got IBS issues, constipation, you know, whatever. Pick something, it has its root someplace else. And so nutritionally, it's just getting to, you know, if you crave salt, if you crave sugar, you know, you crave certain foods, there's a reason. So you're depleted in something. When somebody's craving salty foods, they're low in calcium. Their calcium's off. If they're craving sugary foods, they've either got yeast overgrowth, adrenal fatigue, everything's connected. There's a reason behind everything.
I mean, nutritionally, could AFib be addressed, or is that the electrical system?
You start
Outside of
you
the-
start to support the electrical system and try and get the arrhythmia back on track again. You know, there's a lot of things that contribute to that. You know, over caffeinating. Are they allowed around a lot of electromagnetic stuff? You're seeing more and more people struggling with AFib right now. And I have some theories on what's connecting the dots on that, and that's something I would go over in like a private consult with somebody. But
Are you locally, do you live in this area?
Yeah.
Do you have your
Do you have an office? Or?
Well, like I said, I want to start setting up to where I can start seeing some clients here one day a week. So if that's something that you're interested in, yeah, we could, you know, get it ironed out, and you can always call back up at Bombs and find out what day of the week. For me, it's either gonna be a Monday or a Tuesday that I'll be here. I just need to figure out if I'm gonna do it middle of the day towards the evening to try and catch people that are trying to get off of work and still keep appointments and stuff like that. But
So do you do like saliva testing and urine for hormones? Do you do that?
I don't specify the hormones that way. I'm looking at the endocrine system, but if you want to actually know specifics on where your bioidenticals are at,